It is my honor and privilege to introduce to our listeners now Congressman Rich McCormick from the great state of Georgia. Congressman McCormick, my friend, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good to be with you today.
So, did you hear any of the monologue this morning leading into your introduction?
I did not. We're actually trying to read up on some PBMs and healthcare businesses and some of the other things that are going to be added to this healthcare bill that the president has proposed.
Well, I'm not hurt, but I've spent a lot of time talking about President Trump's first year in office in his second term, and in my view, the unbelievably remarkable job this guy has performed. I think he works 15 to 18 hours a day. He does it for the American people. He already had fame, he already had fortune, and he had the distinction of being a successful president. He really didn't need to do it. And but the fact is he did, and it has been wonderful, I believe, for our country. Let's start off and let me ask you, what do you think about annexing Greenland?
I think it'd be a good thing for America. I think it'd be a good thing for Greenland. I think it actually would have many benefits for Europe in the way it strategically benefits stability of that Arctic region. As any military people know, that we've always had a polar cap up there, and we've broken through it with submarines, and we've explored it, and we have bases up in that area. But Russia is far more advanced, has far more bases up in that region, and China wants to have a foothold. If we don't have that area secured, and it's a large landmass with a ton of water, a ton of natural resources, and very strategically located, it puts us at a huge disadvantage, especially at a time where China and Russia are looking forward to expanding their imprint in that region. Now, the way we do it is what matters, of course, and President Trump uses every tool in the box to leverage that to get what he wants. Some people don't like it. I was just with some Europeans last night that are ambassadors, and their concerns are understood. And I understand why people don't like to be strong armed. But this is all leverage points. When you look at how Trump gets things done, he purposely trolls the media. He says he trolls the media in order to get a response, to get people to focus on something he wants them to focus on, so we can actually get a solution to a problem.
Well, and I pointed out that Russia is trying to take over parts or all of the Ukraine. China wants to move in on Taiwan. Will they? Will they get it? Who knows? But don't you think that there is a new world order that's sort of playing out in real time right
Of course
before our
there
very
is.
eyes? And we can either sit back and wait for the tooth fairy, or we can say, look, this is the world we live in, and we've got to play the game as
We
our adversaries are.
We've had our head buried in the sand for a very long time. During the Biden administration, we were not paying attention. And Ukraine's not the only problem. And yes, I agree that if President Trump was president, they would have never invaded Ukraine to begin with. Remember, the first invasion of Crimea was during Obama's administration. The second was during Biden's administration.
100%.
But if you look at just the Western Hemisphere, their influence, China and Russia's influence on Venezuela, which they had people on the ground there, not just Cuba. And Cuba's a bad influencer too, by the way, in the Western Hemisphere, but their influence in Brazil and other places in Central and South America. It's very worrisome. You do not want these bad actors having a foothold in the Western Hemisphere. It's against everything we've ever studied on the Monroe Doctrine. It's why we have to make sure that we exert our influence and that we're not usurped by those bad actors.
And is it your opinion that Venezuela falls into that same category, and that's
It,
probably more to do with the motivation than fentanyl or oil?
Well, considering their natural resources and their proximity to the United States, look, Cuba needs to be dealt with too. Quite
Yeah,
frankly, it's
we
long
talked about that.
overdue. But we keep on doing these half measures. I hate half measures. It never
Mhm.
benefits the United States. Either you're a bad guy or a good guy. If you're a bad guy, come hard. I mean, Russia could have been crushed a long time ago. And I mean a long time ago. They have a $2.1 trillion GDP. Texas has a $2.7 trillion GDP. Germany has a $5 trillion GDP. Collectively, Europe has a $20 trillion GDP, 10 times the size of Russia. So when we talk about the unfair advantage that Russia has over Ukraine, Europe has exactly the same advantage over Russia. And that's without the United States involved, which has $30 trillion. We could
Well,
sanction them into oblivion even without the military use.
there's one deterrent there, and that is their nuclear arsenal. They're also the second most powerful, have the second most powerful nuclear collection of any country on earth. And so
But
I think
this
that's
is
why
why
we
it's
give
really
them
important to
undue
address.
deference.
Yeah, this is why it's really important to address Iran's nuclear program and to never let them get a foothold, because once you get a foothold in nuclear capabilities, that's why India and Pakistan and North Korea can all deal from a different position of power. Makes it much more tricky, as you were just alluding to.
So, Congressman, since I am a firm believer in meritocracy, we have a caller that has been patient for a long time this morning, and I invited him to invited callers to call. So I better go to Rob. He's on right now with us. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Hey, John. Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I never got a chance to speak with you, but I know John speaks highly of you. And Congressman McCormick, great to meet you, even if it's over the phone. I wanted to answer your original question that you started off with. What do we think about Davos? And the answer is it's a playground for the elites. But I do think Trump should go, because Trump doesn't go there to kiss ass. He goes there to chuck grenades and to throw bombs, which, proverbially speaking, of course. And they need that. The world needs to see that we have a leader. We're not going to have America first. We're not going to roll over. Republican Party, on the other hand, that's a different story, because I hate to say this, I mean, the party just doesn't fight. So it's nice to have at least the leader of the party get up there and stick it to these elites.
Well,
I
I
read
have to
this morning.
agree with you, Rob. Where are you calling from, by the way?
Oh, I'm in New York. I'm in Westchester County, a little north of New York City.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for calling. Let's unpack what Rob spoke about, Congressman. I happen to agree with him that Davos is the playground for the elites, but it's more than a playground. I mean, they're talking serious stuff there. And a lot of those folks seem to want a new world order. And as long as they can be in charge, I think that's the scary part. Many of these people have not been elected to anything. So when you said you were meeting with some European diplomats last night, you're not in Davos, are you?
No, these are ambassadors. These are people here in America that have been appointed that have
So
Europe's best interest
what do you think about
in
Rob's insightfulness about the elite meeting in Davos every year? And it's been going on for over 50 years, and they want to impose their beliefs on the rest of the world. Your thoughts?
Sure. We have groups like that here in America too. We have elite people who have more money than Davos. If you start collecting the people here, if you consider how the central banking system was set up here, it was an elite group of people who met at Jekyll Island
That's
that
right.
changed the course of not only America but the world. But I do want to address one of the things he said about fighting and uniting. The Republicans have never been more united than this point of time. With this narrow majority, President Trump's been able to exert his influence. And when we don't vote for something, sometimes it's not the most conservative thing when we pass things. And I don't like it. And I'm one of the holdouts a lot of times, but I don't make President Trump call me. That annoys him. He doesn't like it. But if you don't play the game, President Trump will exert enormous pressure on you to actually vote for something, even when it's not the most conservative thing ever, because he realized that it's the best thing you can get. So realize with a very slim majority, sometimes we have to swallow our pride and vote for something that's not as good as we want, knowing that if we try to get something more, and this is President Trump coming to our conference saying, I know this is not what you want. I know you want more. I know you want to be more conservative, but if you don't vote for this, you're going to get something worse. And that's what we have to face when these appropriations bills come up this week. If we don't pass it, you'll almost certainly get something worse. And that's straight from President Trump's mouth. So we are playing ball. And some people who are much more conservative like myself sometimes vote for bills we don't want to because it's the best thing we can. Because quite frankly, we have to end the debate in the Senate. Now, this is an interesting time. This is something we haven't talked a lot about. You can actually let it run its course. You don't need 60 votes. If you let every single Democrat talk as long as they want to twice, it will take weeks, but you will pass it with a simple majority. Usually we don't have that sort of time. In this case, we actually do. If you really force the closure of the government, it may last a couple of weeks. but we would get the vote we wanted to because we do have the simple majority, and that would be an interesting play by Senator Thune that hasn't been used in a very, very long time.
So, what is life like as a congressman? We on the truth, we talk a lot about the deep state, and I don't know where your thoughts are. I was home from the fourth grade in November 22nd, 1963. I have the advantage of experience over you, Congressman. So I've lived a long time. But I was home when John Kennedy was killed, and I've had somewhat of an unhealthy obsession, but maybe it's a healthy obsession actually, because I think today that I've come to the conclusion, at least, that our own government killed John Kennedy, and the CIA carried it out, LBJ ordered it, and the FBI covered it up. That's my paradigm, and I think with a lot of evidence to support that. That is really pretty demonic when you think about it. And then we've lived through other tragedies like the implosion of Building 7, the attempted assassination on President Trump, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who I knew and Charlie had been on the truth. I was not his best friend, or probably not even a friend, but more than a casual acquaintance. We saw each other 2 or 3 times a year for the last 8 years and were cordial towards one another. And that really sucker punched me in the gut. I mean, it hit me to my core because at 72 years, I've never met a smarter human being, a more devout human being, and a more patriotic human being. And for him to be stripped from us and taken away, I'm not buying the official narrative. I'm not buying that Tyler Robinson acting alone. But do you worry about the deep state? Do you consider it to be real? Or am I just a senile old man who's gone conspiratorialist?
Well, I was just with Charlie Kirk's father this weekend by chance at an event, really, really neat by Freedom House and the Job Creators Network. Great patriot, very humble man. I will tell you the bigger problem we have right now is not with those individual actors. And you could say there's a conspiracy against people like Charlie. There's a lot of people who want to kill us. That's why we basically have security now in Congress, because people are openly plotting not just to kill the president, but kill people like Charlie and other leaders in this community. But really what's scary, if you read Kash Patel's book, which I'm almost done with right now, on corruption in the CIA, in the FBI, in doing things not necessarily like assassinations, but assassinating your character and going after people legally, trying to put President Trump in jail, trying to keep him from actually running for president. This stuff's been going on for a long time. The weaponization of the United States government is one of the scariest things you'll ever see. If anybody's ever read the book Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn, you would see how once a government gets out of control, the only way it stays in power is to continue oppressing its people. That's why socialism leads to communism, which leads to dictatorships, which leads to death. That's why the Khmer Rouge killed millions of people. That's why Gulag Archipelago killed 60 million people in about 40 years.
Okay.
It always leads to obstruction of justice and prosecution of the wrong people. It's happened in Brazil recently. It's happened obviously in Venezuela, Colombia, all over the world, and in the United States is the most shocking thing of all. In the United States, a country that's based on balance of power, they got away with it against many of us.
Okay, but what about the deep state? Do you consider it to be a real and something to be concerned about? Have you felt pressured at any time from quarters within our government that you sort of gave you the creeps?
I've never felt pressure directly, but I will tell you that Kash Patel book exposes that deep state. It is deep state. The bureaucracy that we have, we can't fire people that have been around for 40 years doing a horrible job and actually obstruct the president from getting his job done. That is the deep state. Those are the people that wait you out. And remember that are hired from DC, which is about 93% Democrat. So the deep state is against all of us, but especially against conservative thinking. It is integrated with a cancer known as liberalism.
Well, I appreciate your candor on it. It is a concern of mine. We only have about 3 minutes left. Let me just ask you two things. One, do you think you can get meaningful budget reform in the next bill can we get this federal deficit and this out of control budget under control?
It won't get under control, but it'll be better than what it is. I mean, if you look at the tariffs offsetting some of the deficit spending, it will be better than what it is, but you'll never get what you want. It is built-in harassment. You will see Social Security and Medicare go bankrupt in the next presidency, not this one. You'll see the budget come to a crisis. That's mathematically certain. And we haven't done anything because we're a reactionary government rather than a proactive government. That's the frustrating part of being up here, is because nobody handles things before it's an emergency. And once an emergency, you always come up with a halfway plan, which is not good.
So how does that bear on the midterms? You know, President Trump promised that he was going to get this deficit under control. And frankly, I agree with everything that you've said relative to that. I mean, you know, you do live in a political process. We do have a democracy. Everybody can't get their way on everything. You've got to come to the middle some. But it just seems to me that anybody who's living in America would not want to see the greatest country on earth come to an end because of an economic implosion. And when you got $1 trillion in interest to pay every year, which is the rate that it's at now, and growing, it seems to me that it's something that has got to be dealt with. Can you get reelected without meaningful budget control?
You can't, because you're growing the economy faster than you're growing the debt. You're growing the economy faster than inflation. That's good for people just living every day. That's what they look at first. The debt seems like a back burner issue to them because they don't see the real hurt locker. The president does have the tariffs that's producing a tremendous amount of revenue. We just need to make sure he doesn't spend it on anything else. They go straight to debt, that he doesn't get caught up in the same thing, to use that as a tool in his toolbox, that it actually goes back to the people's debt so our children don't have to pay that. I also have a bill called the Incentivized Savings Act, which will pass this year. I'm looking for another bill in the Senate from Senator McCormick, hopefully, which I will be with this weekend, planning, which means at the end of the budget year, if you don't spend your money right now, you lose it. Somebody else spends it anyways. It's a horrible way of doing business. We all complain about it. Every bureaucracy does it. My bill says if you don't spend it, instead, whatever you save, 49% rolls over to next year. 49% goes back to debt and deficit, not the president, not the speaker, not higher headquarters, debt and deficit, 2% bonus retention for that department to sweeten the deal. So we reward people for saving rather than punish it. I think it'll be transformative to Congress and the way we spend money in government. And so I'm really looking for an out-of-the-box solution that I think is going to pass this year. Really excited about it.
So let me ask you, Congressman, what's your vision? What's next for Congressman McCormick? I thought you were going to run for the U.S. Senate, frankly, and I would have left sunny Palm Beach and come up there and campaign for you.
Well, you're too kind. We do have some big plans, but I don't want to get ahead of this election. I want to make sure this election is focused on, we need to beat Ossoff. He's got a track record to run against for sure. This is a tough year. Midterms, he's well ingrained. We need to be one team, one fight. We have 3 people fighting in that primary, and it's going to put us at a severe disadvantage for that election. I hope we do better as we learn in Georgia that we are almost 50% minorities. We have to appeal to everybody. We have to make sure that our rhetoric is conservative but appealing. That is super important for the future of Georgia.
Were you surprised when Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned from Congress? That one really blew me away. You know, I met her at Mar-a-Lago in 2018 or maybe 2017. We were both dialing for dollars for President Trump. We sat at the same table for 4 or 5 hours, and I knew then just intuitively that this gal was going places. She has a lot of charisma and a lot of chutzpah, but she worked so hard to get the position, and she was effective in a number of ways. I don't know about legislatively, but she certainly had the bully pulpit at her disposal. It just blew me away when she just kind of got mad and quit.
Well, remember, once you get at odds with President Trump and he gives you a nickname, it's trouble, especially inside the Republican Party, and especially when you've hitched your train to him. I knew she was in big trouble. And remember, this is the problem with Marjorie. She had the worst performance in Georgia when compared to President Trump. Underperformed Trump by 8 points. You compare that to the best performing district, which was mine, which overproduced by 8 points. This is really important about the message. I vote more conservative than Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's objective truth. So you can have a very conservative legislative record. You can actually get more legislation passed. You can grow the party. You can outperform in politics and still be conservative. You don't have to punch everybody in the face. You can say she's effective, Yeah, effective at becoming famous, but not effective at growing the party, not effective at passing legislation. What's important? Being famous or being effective? That's what we have to really look at when we come to politics. And too many people are addicted to the fame rather than addicted to success. It is time to make this about us rather than me, to grow the party through something that appeals to everybody, like Reagan did when he won by 20 points. The Democrats have picked all the wrong fights. This is the time to act. And I think President Trump is being brilliant at this. But I think we can even do better as we move forward.
So, you think she's going to run for president? That's sort of the rumor that's
I
out
don't
there.
think so. I don't think she has a lane to run in. She can't take the Trump lane. She certainly can't take any sort of appealing lane that's going to get her any traction. She may run just for the fame of it, to stay in the news lines, but she's done in politics. It's nothing personal. I've known
You know,
Marjorie for a long time, but this is not her time.
in my life, I've never really been at the top of the class. I've been sort of middle, top third. You're one smart guy. Are the other people in Congress nearly as smart as you are? An MD, an MBA, and a veteran of our armed forces?
Well, I'm doing my homework every day. I got to learn just like you. I'm human, but I put my work in. That's the main thing.
Well, and I, for one, really appreciate it. Rich McCormick, it is always a pleasure to speak with you. I've enjoyed our friendship for many years now. We're not on speed dial, but we have a good congenial relationship, and I value that. Have a great rest of your day.
You got my number, Semper Fi.